Hey, and welcome back. I'm Benjamin Davies, and this is Maker's Journey Workshop. With Halloween just a couple weeks away, I thought we'd do a fun sheet metal project that you could do at home without the use of any power forging hammers or hydraulic presses. What I have here is a 7x7, 7-inch by 7-inch, 16 gauge material. And this is supposed to represent like a bed sheet. So we're going to do bed sheet ghosts today. I've played around with these before in the past. I made some ugly things. One of the things I made was a wonton, or not wonton, crab rangoon. Yeah, if you like those. But I think I've unlocked the process to how I want to make these guys, and it actually turned out and look like a bed sheet ghost. So come along with me. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is to anneal it. Even though it's a mild steel, we're actually going to work this cold today, because I think it's going to allow us to have more control in how we hammer, and we can take our... But if it's not high carbon, why do we need to anneal it? And isn't that going to take forever? Annealing is just the process of relaxing the molecules, and they become softer and easier to work. Correct, it's not a high carbon steel, but you can still anneal it. What I did was before lunch, I threw it in there, let it heat up like it was something I was going to forge, and then I turned my forge off and I let it in there and let it cool down. When I got done with lunch, I took it out and I put it on my table as I did a couple cleanup things through the shop, and it was good temperature to touch. And now I can go to work in it. Something to remember, even though it's going to be cold, wear your glasses, because now we've got a big thick layer of black oxide on here, and that scale's going to pop off. You might have experienced this as you're forging, as you continue to do some straight and planishing blows on your pieces. Even though it's lost that heat, that color, and it has that black oxide finish, that scale will still pop off. And you can be hammering on one side, and it'll cause it to pop off at another side. So be careful, be mindful, take your time, wear your protection. First thing we're going to use is our swage block right here. If you don't have a swage block, don't worry, because you can also use this tool right here. We'll go ahead and lay out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw about a 1 to 1.5 inch circle right in the middle, and then I'm going to start marking it off cross-sectionally. And I want to get a bunch of little grooves. And what that's going to allow us to do is it's going to go ahead and shape the way the material would drape as if you wore it for like a ghost costume, like those childhood ghost costumes we used to see if you're from the 1900s like me. All right, so we've got it drawn on there, our template, and I use marker. It's just what works best for me. You can use soap, you can use chalk, you can use that silver pen, pencil, whatever. And my circle's not perfect. It doesn't have to be. It's just a reference point to tell me to keep my hammer marks off of there, because we want to make them a little wide out here towards the edges, and we actually want to taper them down a little bit. And we can do that just by taking our time at the vise back there or using the swage block. If you don't have something and you want a perfect circle, you don't have a compass, I used to use these when I started out. I'd wear these guys down to different sizes and I'd save them. I'd write on them, hey, 1.5, 1 inch, whatever. And then do your best to, center it on there and then just trace around it. Use what you got, be creative. You can use string and weld a little spot or drill a little screw in it. Just make it happen. Trust me, you've got stuff laying around you can make work. Don't get hung up on, well, so-and-so does it this way. Just make it happen. All right, a couple things to note. That scale popped off just like I said, and so did our lines with it. I had a pretty good idea where I was going, and I've done this enough to kind of get an idea of my layout. If you haven't, don't panic, calm down. Might as well go ahead and knock all the slag off of it and the scale off of it at this point and then redraw it. It's okay. Something else to note right here is I'm just establishing where I want those grooves right now. I'm not really taking them to the full extent to where I want them. Just want to be able to see them visibly with my eyes without needing the marker. As you can kind of already see here, it almost looks like a clamshell, right? Just getting those little ruffles in. And what that's going to allow us to do is whenever we go to form this up like a ghost sheet here in a few minutes, is it's already going to go ahead and lay out the path for where we want those grooves to go. If not, it would be an organic thing and it wouldn't turn out great. This way, we're kind of controlling our form. All right, let's get back to it. We'll do some in the vise this time. All right, so we've got it this far. Ooh, that catches pretty good. And so we've kind of got our circle right in here, and you can see all our ridges. Now you've got a couple options of where to go from here. If it's starting to feel really hard and it doesn't want to move gracefully like it was when you first started hammering, stick it back in the fire, let it cool down again. If you've got a way to hold it without messing up your ridges, do that. Form it hot. Now that you've established all the ripples and know where they are, I feel pretty confident about where I'm at. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to reestablish my circle, and I'm just going to refine these a little bit more. If you'll notice, all we did was hammer from one side here. So what I can also do is I can go back and I can hammer from this, and that will start to shrink and tighten this up. The same way that you would if you're trying to turn up a vessel. We're going to take our time, we're going to establish that, and I think it's going to make life really easy for us. Wow, so you can already see it's starting to turn up, right? We've got a vessel essentially now. And if you wanted to make a vessel, that'd be a cool way to start. That's a project all in itself. Flip it over, figure out how to make it sit flat. Doesn't even, look at that. Not bad. But what I think we're ready to do here is go to the fire. Whilst that heats up, let's talk about a couple things real quick. I made this tool right here. Looks like the end of a trombone. Oh God! Anyways, and I'm posting the video in tandem with this one, so it looks like this. Go click on it. I just took a piece of pipe, flared it out around the horn, and then I rolled it over. Bit of a slow process, not a gorgeous looking tool. Something I learned over the years that works for me is I don't need my tools to be gorgeous. I need to be able to make them quick, and I need them to do exactly what I want them to do. A lot of times in the past, I'd get so hung up on making the tool just perfect and thinking that I would know and being able to account for and prevent all of the obstacles that might come up, when the reality is I had a pretty good idea, but I wouldn't know everything. So whenever I made a tool quick and dirty, and often be ugly, I wasn't frustrated when it didn't work just perfect. And if I had to make one little tweak and I have a small amount of time in that tool, mainly fixtures I'm talking about, then I'm not too frustrated by it. But if I've spent days on a tool and it doesn't work right, I take it personally in my head and it frustrates me. So from me to you, I recommend that you don't do it that way. Just make it quick, make it ugly, make it dirty, make it work the way you want it to. And then adjust if you need adjustments. A workaround for this is you could just make a ring and weld it on 2 or 3 rods, because ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to put our little vessel that we just kind of formed up there, stick this on top. This is a 1-inch piece of Schedule 40 with 1.5 inch ball bearing on it, and we're just going to press it into there. I had this sitting around, I just welded it on there, but I think it's going to be a fun project. This is what I made, and we're going to have some other uses for this, because as I was making it, I thought about some other fun projects that we could do to utilize this tool. All right, I think we're about to warm it up. Let's get to it. Got our hardy shank, got our tool, set it up the way I want to grab it, just like that, and I've got my 6-pound hammer. Just cut off from an old sledge. You've heard me talk about it in some of our old videos where we're just using a chunk of steel as an anvil, okay? And I'm gonna use the heavy hammer, and that way I can just take some good, long, heavy blows and not have to try to really wail away like I would have to with my 2.5 pound hammer. And they seem to be growing legs. We've got one down on that end of the shop too right now. But anyways, yep, that's all there is to it. We're gonna rest it there. We're gonna take our time, make sure we get centered. What happens if you don't get centered and it starts to cool down? You go back to the fire. Calm down. I still do that in my head. I get all worked up and wound up, and I was like, oh wait, I can just heat it again. No worries. Take our time, get centered. So we've already created an avenue for it to go. That one's already starting to fold up a little bit on us, which is what we want. Also, if you've got a big glove, that's going to help keep some of that heat off of you. Even though it is thin material, since it's so wide, it radiates a lot of heat, and you'll feel it really quick. And that'll help you to keep some of that heat off of you and scale beating up on you. All right, the side closest to me, it's already starting to follow those wrinkles, and that's exactly what we wanted. Pretty excited. So I needed to get this side to catch up, and the way I think I'm going to do that is when I go back, instead of sitting it perfect, I'm going to sink it like this and still try to hit that same center point, and I think it's going to make this side right here catch up with this side over here. I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. I think it's going to be a really cool project. Same thing, we'll see if we can get the catch up. There it went. Ha ha ha! Oh, I'm excited. That's exactly what I was looking for. Man, I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm gonna see if I can take it just a little bit further and really get this guy to drape, and then we'll put some eyes and a mouth in it. Let's go. That's it right there. Ha ha ha! All right, so here it is. Here's the first one that I've been pleased with actually turned out as a ghost. And that was my first attempt today at trying the way that we turned it up like a vessel and put all those wrinkles in it. And I'm tickled pink. While this guy cooled down, let me go over a few things real quick to remember and account for. And let me show you some of my mistakes as well. And then I'll show you the trick on how we're going to put holes in there for eyes and a mouth. It's just, shh. Hey, don't give away my secrets. Don't pay him attention. Oh yeah, but that's just more hot air, so that's not good. All right, so here's my first one. Crab Rangoon, yeah. I mean, if you like Chinese food, I love Chinese food. Pretty good, all right? Second one, I want a little smaller, and it looks okay. Still not uniform like I want. And I think I put a little bit more wrinkles than I did the Crab Rangoon. The first Crab Rangoon had about 8 wrinkles in it. I went on the corners and then I split the halves. So an X on the corners and then an X across the middle. And this guy, I was not inspired, but it gave me a little bit of hope. I was like, I think I can crack this egg. And then lastly, I got that guy going, and I'm tickled pink. Yeah, 7 inches, what I started out with. And I think this guy's a 5 or 6 incher. And I use 16 gauge. You can use 12 gauge, you can use 20 gauge. It's going to work a little bit different. 20 gauge, you'll be able to wrinkle faster, but it may sink too quick. Just take your time, experiment, and play. So if you don't have 16 gauge laying around, use 18 gauge. Use what you got, don't worry, and just take your time. Make the tools that's going to work for you. If you don't have a swage block, use the vise. If you don't know or have a piece of pipe like that to make a cone, make a big ring. We're just looking to sink that in there. Something that's real important though, because I used a ball bearing, and where that presents a problem is the ball bearing is wider than the shaft of the tool, which means it's susceptible to getting trapped on the tool. I think I had that problem a little bit here with my smaller one. Yep, because I can tell it doesn't want to quite go in all the way. So there's ways to get that off. You usually just kind of have to pull it open again. You want to avoid that if all possible. So that's why I took my time with those last few strikes to make sure I wasn't trapping my tool inside the little scary haunted ghost thingy. All right, let's go. All right, we're just about cooled down, but I'm gonna put these on just to be safe. Like I said, that scale does like to pop off. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna pick out my smoothest face on here. What we're gonna do now is pick the smoothest face on here. That way you and I can put holes in for the eyes and the mouth. We're just gonna drill them in. And that'll be hard to get to from the backside, but I'm gonna throw this in the orange tumbler that we talk about in the video right here. The little Harbor Freight concrete mixer. I've been using that thing for over a year now. I love it for all my smaller items. And I actually have a big professional deburr machine over there for our larger items. And I still love using that thing for things like hooks and these small items. So for hooks and these smaller items. And the thing that's great about that is it's going to get meaty in there and it's going to beat it and it's going to tumble it. So if you're just starting out and you're making smalls, I highly recommend you get some kind of concrete mixer. That's our second one. The first one I got off of Marketplace years ago, and it was great. And I beat the heck out of it and wore it out. And now I'm on that guy. And a year later, and it's still going pretty strong. And we've put a lot of stuff through it. All right, let's drill some holes. So I'm just going to draw these on. You'll see here in a second. And I'm just going to eyeball it. Eyeball it. Goofball. Right here. One right here. Then so I'm gonna start out with a small bit, 3/16. I'm actually gonna use my swage block because this is such a funny shape. If you've got a better way to hold it, post it in the comments, but this is just what I came up with pretty quick. I'm gonna hold it in the swage block, and that way it kind of cradles it on both sides, and I'm gonna come in at an angle and take my time. I'm not gonna center punch those holes because I don't really have a mandrel or anything that fits up in there good off the top of my head. I guess I could chuck up a piece of 1-inch steel or something and center punch that way, but I think it would be good just taking my time and trying to hit those center dots. Let's go. All right, I think I like the eyes the size they are, and that's just a 3/16 bit is what I use there. And I've got a 5/16 and a 3/8. And I always like to go progressively. If you've got a step bit, you can use that. But with sheet metal and it being obviously not flat, I'm just gonna take my time and use some progressive bits. That's what works well for me. If you've got a different method you like, use it. Be careful, take your time. So there's several different things you can do with it from here. I'm gonna shove mine in the tumbler and I'm gonna put a little votive candle underneath it. What I recommend for you to do at home is if you're gonna stop right here, put a little electric candle underneath it. That way it doesn't heat up when you touch it. But for the sake of the pictures, and it's what I have here in the shop today, I think it'll look kind of cool and spooky. I think it'd be fun to make a whole family of these guys in different sizes. You could also drill a hole on top and hang them and use that little votive electric candle, and that way you could suspend them. That would be kind of fun. I'm not too worried about deburring this because that machine's gonna do that. But one thing I do wanna do, since it's just gonna sit like this, is I've got a lot of wobble to it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of these corners and I'm gonna put them over the edge of the anvil, and I'm gonna try to get them to stabilize out. It's always much easier trying to chase 3 legs than 4 legs, but we've got 4 legs in here, that being the corner of the said sheets. And we're just gonna take our time and try to go slow. We can do this cold because it is pretty soft from letting it cool down the way that we did earlier. Oh, we got 3 legs touching pretty good. I think I'm gonna leave it just like that. And all I did was curl up this end. Well, I thought that was gonna take a whole lot more time than it actually did. And all I did was curl up this little side right here. And I got 3 legs to touch, and they're pretty solid. Now I'm gonna throw it in the tumbler, and let's see how it looks in the dark with the candle in it. Hey, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's something fun, something simple, something you can share with your family. One of the things that I've learned as I've gotten into this over the years is I rarely make anything for myself or for my loved ones. So I thought this would be a fun little project that wouldn't take too much time to whip up. I do recommend that you buy an electric candle because that's already pretty warm pretty quick from just a few pictures I've taken. Obviously, just gonna be safer. Put as many wrinkles in there as you can. If you don't have the right steels, don't worry about it. Start out with what you got and just go from there. Take your time, be safe, have fun. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Ben Davies, and this is Maker's Journey Workshop.